Hello, Sigma Sisters and Wisdom Seekers. Welcome back to the Sigma Sisterhood channel, where we explore the strength, wisdom, and independence of the Sigma female. Today, we're diving into a side of the Sigma woman rarely understood: what really happens when she reaches her breaking point. Her response isn't loud or obvious. It's quiet, calculated, and profoundly transformative. She doesn't lose control. Instead, she silently recalibrates, making intentional shifts to protect her energy and reclaim her peace. In this episode, we're unveiling 10 hidden signs that reveal how a Sigma female handles her limit in ways only those close to her may see. If you're ready to explore the quiet power of the Sigma's resilience, stick with us to the end. And if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to hit that button and join the Sigma Sisterhood channel, a community that celebrates and supports the unique strength of Sigma women everywhere. Let's dive in and discover resilience redefined through the eyes of the Sigma. 1. The micro-exit, subtle detachments from daily interactions. When the Sigma female begins to reach her limits, she doesn't immediately withdraw in a way others would easily notice. Instead, she employs what we call the micro-exit. This is her way of quietly retreating from day-to-day interactions, not with a grand exit, but in small, almost untraceable steps. It's not a loud statement or an open announcement. She simply starts opting out, often in ways so subtle that only those who know her well would notice. For example, imagine a Sigma who regularly joins her colleagues for coffee breaks or is often active in casual group chats. One day she becomes less frequent in these spaces. She isn't being rude or detached out of malice, but rather choosing where to place her energy. Instead of direct confrontation or openly expressing her frustration, she finds ways to slip away from the endless cycle of trivial conversations and social expectations. These micro-exits help her protect her mental bandwidth by carefully choosing where she places her attention. This subtle withdrawal is her way of preserving her energy for herself without disrupting others. She might start by skipping unimportant events or by keeping social media interactions to a minimum. In each small way, she is creating space for herself, setting a boundary that few may notice but which serves her need to recharge. The micro-exit is a nuanced process, grounded in her deep awareness that her emotional energy is finite and valuable. Ultimately, this micro-exit is like an early warning system, allowing her to regain a sense of balance and clarity before she makes any more dramatic moves. While others may overlook this as a simple phase or a minor mood, it's actually a signal of her self-awareness and strength. She knows when it's time to conserve her energy, and she doesn't need to ask for permission to do so. In this quiet but powerful way, the Sigma female begins her journey back to equilibrium, reclaiming her peace one small step at a time. 2. A hint of vulnerability, the strategic reveal. For the Sigma female, vulnerability is a rare and precious act. Unlike others who might openly display their frustrations or sadness, she views vulnerability as something sacred, reserved for moments that truly call for it. When she reaches her breaking point, she might drop a subtle hint of vulnerability, a calculated reveal that only the most observant will catch. She's not looking for sympathy or attention, but is using this brief show of emotion to gauge her surroundings and the people around her. Picture this: a Sigma female, known for her quiet strength and independence, makes a small comment about feeling overwhelmed or lets out a sigh she usually wouldn't. To many, it might seem insignificant, a passing moment of tiredness or a rare expression of stress. But for her, this is intentional. It's her way of signaling discomfort and testing the waters to see who genuinely respects her boundaries. This controlled hint of vulnerability is her way of silently communicating that she's on the edge without laying everything bare. This reveal is also a safety valve, a way for her to release a bit of the pent-up emotion she's carrying. It allows her to gauge who in her circle truly understands her without needing to spell it out. Those who are in tune with her will recognize this as a call for support or understanding without her needing to ask. For those who don't pick up on it, she moves on, keeping her trust circle tight and selective. In this way, vulnerability becomes her silent strength, a calculated action that serves her self-protection and growth. She doesn't need to make grand gestures to show she's struggling. Instead, she uses small cues to indicate her boundaries, conserving her energy while still communicating her needs. This strategic vulnerability allows her to remain in control, balancing her emotions without sacrificing her self-respect or independence. Third, sensory boundaries, shielding her environment. When stress mounts and she's feeling overwhelmed, the Sigma female begins to set what we can call sensory boundaries. Unlike simple emotional or social limits, these are boundaries that protect her physical and sensory experience. People might think she's just being sensitive, but for the Sigma, these changes are intentional and essential to reclaiming her calm and focus. Imagine a Sigma female who typically has no issue with the lively bustle of a busy office or the endless pings of phone notifications. At her breaking point, these everyday sounds and sights become intolerable. Bright lights, loud sounds, chaotic environments, things she once tolerated, now feel intrusive, draining her faster than ever. This is her mind and body signaling that it's time for a reset, and she takes action by managing her environment with care. She'll start seeking out calm, quiet spaces where she can breathe and think freely. Perhaps she lowers the lights, silences notifications, and avoids noisy gatherings. These sensory boundaries are her way of creating a safe zone, a place where she can recharge without interference. By controlling what enters her personal space, she minimizes the stress that external noise and chaos impose on her mind. This isn't just about avoiding discomfort. It's about self-preservation. The Sigma knows that overstimulation can erode her inner peace, so she takes charge of her surroundings to protect her well-being. These sensory boundaries are her buffer, an invisible shield that helps her process her emotions in a calm environment. Others might overlook this as a quirky preference, but for her, it's a necessary act of self-care. By fortifying her personal space, she equips herself to handle the world on her own terms. 4. The isolation cue, retreating to stealth mode. When the pressure becomes unbearable, the Sigma female activates what we can call stealth mode. This is more than just a temporary break. It's a full retreat, where she intentionally becomes invisible to most people around her. Unlike the usual going silent, stealth mode is her way of creating a space where she can process emotions privately, without external expectations or interference. In this mode, she'll likely stop responding to texts, minimize her social media presence, and limit her interactions to essential conversations only. To outsiders, it might seem like she's ghosting the world or isolating herself without explanation. But to her, this withdrawal is a necessary form of self-care, a way to reconnect with herself, away from the demands and noise of others. During this time, she's not looking for advice or outside opinions. Instead, she's relying on her own introspection, reevaluating her priorities, and gathering her emotional resources. She trusts her own judgment and believes that time alone will bring her clarity. This self-imposed solitude is her opportunity to listen to her inner voice and rediscover what truly matters. When she emerges from stealth mode, she often returns with a renewed sense of purpose and direction. To those who missed her presence, this may seem confusing or even abrupt, but for her, it's a critical part of resilience. By embracing this phase of quiet solitude, she can come back stronger, more focused, and ready to engage with the world again on her own terms. 5. Conscious apathy, deciding not to care. When she reaches a point of true burnout or emotional exhaustion, the Sigma female might decide to adopt a stance of conscious apathy. This isn't carelessness or a lack of empathy. It's a deliberate choice to stop investing in things or people that drain her. This form of apathy is a protective filter that allows her to focus her energy only on what truly deserves it. In practice, this means she'll start looking at her relationships, responsibilities, and tasks with a new lens. Is this person or activity worth her mental and emotional bandwidth? If not, she chooses not to care. This doesn't mean she stops valuing her core principles or relationships. Rather, she detaches from obligations that no longer serve her. To others, This shift might seem sudden or even cold, but for the Sigma, it's an empowering decision to protect her well-being. This conscious apathy is a liberating process. By letting go of unnecessary concerns, she breaks free from the exhausting cycle of approval-seeking or people-pleasing. Her priorities shift, allowing her to care deeply about what matters without feeling pressured to uphold superficial connections or habits. This realignment of her values makes her more resilient, enabling her to invest her energy in ways that add true value to her life. 6. The energy audit. Evaluating and cutting emotional investments. When the Sigma female hits her limit, she instinctively begins an energy audit. This is her way of carefully assessing every emotional investment, whether it's friends, work, or routines, to determine if they truly contribute to her well-being or are simply sources of drain. This isn't a hasty or emotional decision. Rather, it's a calculated process that digs into each connection and commitment she holds. In this phase, she may phase out relationships that feel one-sided or commitments that bring more stress than joy. To others, it might look like she's suddenly cutting ties or dropping hobbies, but it's actually a deeply thoughtful decision. This energy audit reflects her self-awareness. She knows her time and emotions are valuable, and she's no longer willing to expend them on anything that doesn't enhance her life. For example, she might start distancing herself from a friend who consistently takes more than they give or cut down on tasks that feel repetitive and uninspiring. She understands that each person and commitment either adds or detracts from her emotional and mental reserves. During this process, she is often unsentimental, focusing on the reality of each situation rather than sentimental attachments. Her decisions are guided by logic, not nostalgia. By shedding unnecessary emotional baggage, she creates a life that aligns with her core values and minimizes stress. This audit is her way of reorienting her priorities, so when she does invest her energy, it's intentional and meaningful. The result? A sense of clarity and purpose, free from draining ties and filled with connections that genuinely support her growth and happiness. 7. Silent accountability, setting standards without warning. When she's nearing her breaking point, the Sigma female may begin setting new boundaries, but she does so without making a big announcement. She isn't one for dramatic declarations or heated confrontations. Instead, she practices what we call silent accountability. This is where she holds people to a higher standard without saying a word. For instance, if someone in her life has been consistently taking advantage of her kindness, she won't confront them with a list of grievances. Instead, she simply changes her behavior. She may stop engaging in activities that enable the other person's actions, avoid certain topics of conversation, or share her time and energy less freely. These quiet shifts are her way of demanding respect without creating a scene. This approach isn't about punishing others but about respecting herself. By setting these unspoken standards, she ensures that her relationships are based on mutual respect and integrity. People who fail to meet these standards may find themselves distanced, often without even realizing why. This allows her to preserve her energy and avoid unnecessary drama, as she typically prefers to maintain her peace. Silent accountability is her way of taking control of her personal space and well-being. It's a form of self-respect that doesn't require permission from others. By setting these quiet boundaries, she attracts people who respect her limits and shares her values, ensuring her relationships are healthier and more fulfilling. 8. Invisible preparations, quietly building an exit plan. When the Sigma female realizes she's truly at her limit, she doesn't act impulsively. Instead, she begins to lay the groundwork for an exit, whether it's from a toxic job, a challenging relationship, or any other situation that no longer aligns with her values. She doesn't make her plans known to others and makes no sudden moves. Instead, she works behind the scenes, ensuring each step is in place before she takes her leave. For instance, if she's ready to leave a job that's been wearing her down, she might start networking, polishing her resume, or quietly lining up interviews. If it's a relationship that no longer serves her, she might start focusing on building her own sense of self, preparing for independence, or finding new supportive communities. Every move is part of a well-thought-out strategy, planned meticulously to minimize disruption and maximize her well-being. By the time she's ready to exit, she has already prepared herself mentally and emotionally. To those around her, it may seem sudden, but for her, it's a carefully calculated escape. This quiet exit strategy gives her peace of mind, knowing she's fully prepared to take the next step when the moment is right. Invisible preparations reflect her independence and resilience, allowing her to make bold changes without relying on others for support. Her quiet yet decisive actions demonstrate that she values her happiness and fulfillment over external validation, creating a life path that aligns with her goals. 9. Emotional alchemy, transforming pain into wisdom. When the Sigma female faces her breaking point, she doesn't waste time wallowing in despair. Instead, she takes her pain and transforms it into something valuable, a lesson, a new perspective, or an inner strength she didn't know she had. This ability to turn hardship into wisdom is what we can call emotional alchemy. Rather than letting difficult emotions control her, she uses them as fuel for personal growth. Imagine a Sigma who has been deeply hurt by betrayal. Rather than dwelling on bitterness, she'll analyze the situation, look for patterns, and recognize areas where she might improve her own boundaries. This isn't about blaming herself, but about learning from the experience to ensure she doesn't encounter the same challenges again. Her pain becomes a resource, something she can draw from to become even stronger and wiser. This transformation process allows her to gain insights into herself and her relationships, using every experience as a building block for future growth. She believes that every hardship holds a lesson, and by mastering her emotions, she becomes a more resilient and enlightened version of herself. This emotional alchemy gives her the strength to continue forward, knowing that even in her darkest moments, she can find a spark of light. 10. Quiet resurgence, re-emerging with renewed purpose. After she has worked through her breaking point, the Sigma female doesn't come back the same. She undergoes what we can call a quiet resurgence. This is a calm but powerful return, where she re-emerges with a renewed sense of purpose and direction. It's not flashy or loud. Rather, it's an inner transformation that becomes visible to those around her through her actions and demeanor. In this resurgence, she has a newfound clarity and determination, having shed what no longer serves her. Perhaps she has let go of relationships that were holding her back, refocused on personal goals, or restructured her routines to better align with her core values. Whatever changes she has made, they are deeply intentional, reflecting her authentic self. People around her may sense a difference. They might see her as more grounded, focused, or even radiant. This resurgence isn't about impressing others, but about staying true to her own path. She doesn't need validation from anyone else because she has become her own source of strength and wisdom. This quiet transformation allows her to move forward with confidence, having learned from her experiences and embraced the wisdom gained along the way. The Sigma's resurgence is a testament to her resilience, showing that even at her breaking point, she has the power to come back stronger. Her journey through hardship has given her deeper insight into herself and the world, and this inner transformation fuels her future with a purpose that only she can define. To wrap up, when a Sigma female reaches her breaking point, it isn't marked by loud declarations or dramatic exits. Instead, her journey through stress and overwhelm is a quiet, intentional process marked by subtle shifts, introspection, and self-preservation. Each step she takes, from micro-exits and sensory boundaries to energy audits and silent accountability, illustrates her deep understanding of herself and her priorities. These responses are both protective and transformative, allowing her to navigate challenges in a way that strengthens her resilience rather than compromising her values. Her way of processing pain is not passive, but rather an active alchemy of emotions into wisdom. The Sigma female doesn't seek sympathy or validation from others. She draws her strength from within and leverages her experiences to grow, transform, and renew herself. And when she's ready, she re-emerges with a quiet but powerful resurgence, more grounded and focused than before. Ultimately, a Sigma female's journey through her breaking point reflects her unique blend of strength, independence, and emotional intelligence. She shows us that true resilience doesn't always come with a roar, but can be found in the silent, strategic steps we take to protect our peace and align our lives with our values. For anyone striving to better understand the Sigma sisterhood, these signs are a reminder that when a Sigma female loses it, she's actually finding a new level of clarity and self-empowerment. Subscribe to the Sigma Sisterhood channel to continue exploring the wisdom and resilience that define this remarkable personality type.